So welcome to today's class. This is the first of 4 classes. And in this 4-week class, we will be focusing on how to draw a building. And next month in June, when we go back in the studio, we will be adding a silo to this building, and at the end we'll be painting a farm. So, you know, farm buildings and silos and
Love them.
the works.
Great.
So we're gonna do a progression. And just to show you, I think I showed you last time, but I'm gonna show you again. This is what a farm could look like. So this is a barn with a silo. And the great thing with these 2 elements, just these 2 elements, and we already have, you know, with this barn building, we can study the concept of perspective. And we can see it in this building, and we can also see it in this little steeple. And with the silo, we can also, you know, study the concept of painting something that gives the illusion that it's round, even though it's painted on a flat piece of paper. So this is our goal. But, and you know, it's funny because I did an example in acrylics, and I'm going to show you now, of a silo. And after I did that, I said, what am I doing? This is for next session. But anyway, to practice, we could paint a silo, and we'll do it in watercolors next session in June. But just a silo is good. It's a good practice. You can make it appear like it's in nature, and it's a fun painting to do, and something more simple than doing the silo and the building both in the same at the same time. So that's my example that I did in acrylics. Now, I don't know where I put my book. Behind me. Today we are drawing.
Okay.
And next week we will be painting.
All right.
Our drawing. So an example, I'm going to show you a couple of examples. So this is an example of a house.
Oh, I like the light.
This is drawn on gray paper with black charcoal and white chalk. So the great thing with, you know, doing a drawing on a gray paper is the gray paper is your mid-tone, your black is your darkest dark, and you have to add the white in order to have the lightest light. So in this case, it's the roof and a little bit in the windows, and here and here, and a little bit here for it was rock here. So anyway, that's a fun thing. And this actually does use the concept of perspective, because if you were to put, you know, the ruler at the top of the roof, so it's about this angle, and if I lower it, you can see the angle is a little off compared to the bottom of the roof, which is more like straight horizontal. So somewhere over in that area, like very far away, if we were to continue these lines, they would meet.
Okay.
Now, other examples. So examples of what we might be drawing next session. I have done a few examples. So this would be like a farm with the silo and the other buildings and a little street and a little road. So this would be something very complex for someone very advanced. Or something like this, with 3 silos and 3 buildings and the hint of another building. But in the acrylic class, we started this drawing, which is just one farm building with a little fence on the side. Now, in order to show you the steps that I took to do this drawing, I'm going to share my screen, and because I photographed the different steps that I took.
Okay.
To draw these. And then after that, I'm going to show you photos of barn buildings, and we're going to choose which one we're going to draw.
Sounds good.
Good. Yep.
Exciting.
Very exciting.
The heck is that?
It's my, all right, draw a farm. How did I draw the farm? So for each of the 2 farms, I took a different approach. So this is the first one. In this farm, this farm drawing, what I liked was the fact that the farm building, this one here, is very simple because it's basically a rectangle with a little bit of a longer area for the roof. That's it. That's what this is. So when saying that we're going to draw a building, if you are a beginner in drawing buildings, then selecting a simple building like this is a good idea. And then of course, I had to add like little other buildings here, and this was like an extension to the farm building and the silo. And then I made the some lines for, there was trees and mountains in the background, and then there was a road here. So that was kind of interesting. So the first step is to do a line drawing. This is a line drawing because all of that we see is lines. Then the second step is I indicated the lightest light. So the light tones. So the mountain in the background, the silo, this little building here, and the top of the main barn. And there was also another little something here. I don't know what it was. There was also light in color. So I put that. And all of the pickets for the fence, the picket fence, they were all very light. The next step is I added a mid-tone. So all of the field that's in front of the barn, as well as the field on the other side of the road, the barn building and the extension, all of those are mid-tone. And you can see here, this little area is lighter, and also the roof is lighter than the actual barn building. So this is considered the mid-tone. Then I added the line of trees in the background. Makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It makes the picture come alive.
Well, yeah.
So this whole line of trees was very important. It frames the farm buildings very well. And also there was this little entranceway that was very dark here in the extension of the barn that I put that was darker as well. And then the final touches. So this is a field, and in the field there are, many pathways and shrubs and things that grow. And if you look at the grass on the photo very closely, you'll see there are this little shrubs and darker patches of grass, as well as right here against the building and in front of the buildings. And that helps to finalize the drawing. So if I go back one and I add this, it makes a big difference, doesn't it? Even though it's just a little bit. So that's one way to draw it. Now, the other thing that I did is see how the roof here, which was my lightest light, I added a little bit of a darker tone at the top because the roof is a round roof. As well, here on a silo, it's a round building. So the light is hitting the left side, and on the right side, there is a little bit of a shadow area. So the other one, which is this one, I started with drawing the buildings. I chose this one because the buildings are fairly simple. This one is like a rectangle. This one is like a rectangle plus a triangle on top. And same thing with the little one here. So rectangle plus a triangle on top. So we don't really see any kind of perspective on these buildings, which makes them slightly more easy to draw. And then I put the silos. So in this picture, as opposed to the previous one, I started with the darkest dark. So it already puts a nice frame around the buildings. and it defines those silos. Now, this was a gray day, so it's hard to see where the light comes from. You have to make it up. But the silos were definitely the darkest dark. And these are trees in the back that kind of are their mid-tones. And when it comes in between the two buildings, it becomes also the darkest dark. Then I added the mid-tone on the big building with including, you know, there's a window. And here on this smaller building, I started by adding the windows to show you how I do it. Because when I do a window like this, the space between the two rectangles always appears to be wider than what I see. And I do that because it's easier to make it thinner if I have to, than make it wider if I made it too thin to start with. So this is what this is. And then I made this building because it's slightly darker in the photo. I made it the darkest dark as well with the two windows. I also added a light tone on this roof and on the roof of the other house here. My brother is calling me. All right, and then at the end, I added the windows on this house here, some little detail here, and some little twigs on the front of the building, of the grass, and some grass. Any questions?
Nope, not yet.
All right, no questions yet. Okay, so I wanted to show you a drawing demonstration of the barn with a silo. So basically, the painting that I showed you that I did in watercolor, I did a drawing of it. And this drawing is a full hour, so I'm just gonna run it quick. So first of all, I do the drawing of all of the elements. And I simply indicate, you know, all the elements before I then start the sheeting. So I have the building, and before I start the sheeting, I step back and I make sure that everything is fine. And then I start the sheeting. So put the sheeting in. And here, that's one element that's very interesting. So this is the door of the barn. So the door is open and it's very dark inside, but there are a couple of, what do you call it? Like column, like wood pieces that hold, you know, the roof,
Together.
and also there are sideways. So instead of drawing around it, I drew all of the dark, and then with my kneaded eraser, I draw those by removing some of the lead. And I know that I don't want them to be completely white as the paper, so that works just fine to do it this way. And every time I've used my kneaded eraser, then I fold it again to get like another clear piece of the kneaded eraser. So that's a technique that I like to use from time to time. So this is it. And then the dark to make it round on the silo. And again, here I did the same thing. So I did the whole side of the silo that is dark, that has some shadow and some reflected light on the right-hand side. And then using the kneaded eraser, I continue the little, you know, the little rings that we see on the silo. Then I add all the greens, the road, and I put the paper towel underneath there so that I wouldn't be putting my hand on the paper, you know, on the drawing. Yeah. But then I realized that the paper towel picks it up anyway and puts it in elsewhere. So not a good idea. A just a plain sheet of paper is better to do this.
What pencil are you using?
I'm using all sorts of pencils. So I
Okay.
did use the 4H, like for the roof, for example. And I used I think it was a 4B or a 6B or 8B for the really dark, like what I'm using now. I think it's
Mhm.
like it's 6B or 8B for the darkest dark. And I used for the shadow, the shadow, well, let's say for the barn building, I did use, I think an HB, because that's pretty good for doing this. And then for the, when I added some additional darks, then maybe I used a 2B or a 4B. And here I'm just adding the shadow in front of the building with, I think that's an HB. That I'm not putting a lot of pressure, so I could potentially use a 2H. But you know, with a pencil, you can do all sorts of different tones with the same pencil. With an HB, I can almost do this whole picture. It becomes a question of how you can control the pressure that you put on the pencil. So anyway, this is pretty much all this is. I'm just doing little finalization here, final touches, a little bit more darker here, but I was pretty much done here. So this is a drawing.
Oh, nice.
Oh, very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
How you whip them up.
Yes.
I know. She just takes the pencil and goes.
So this is the example of painting in acrylics, painting the silo. It just runs for a few seconds, so I'll just let it run for you.
Did they do the acrylic without a sketch, or they just went to town with it with paint?
This is just an example.
Oh, okay.
We didn't paint it, but
Okay.
see, what I want to bring your attention to, look at how many colors I used.
Yeah.
And what are these colors? So can you tell me the colors?
Well, there's a grayish blue,
Yeah, so there's blue,
purple,
purple,
a little bit of lime green
yeah, or green.
or green, a little bit of yellow in some of them, more than others.
Light, like the light green there, and
Like a teal color on the roof.
Yeah, I like that.
oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, and look at on the actual silo, at the foot of the silo,
Mhm.
how on the right hand side there is some green on the silo.
Oh, yeah.
See that?
Mhm.
It's because of reflected light. The light from the
Oh.
grass actually reflects on the silo, and that's why it's important to put that there.
It's a light green though, huh?
Very light,
Yeah.
very light, and yet if I were to make this a black and white photo, it would appear to be the same gray as the purple.
Yeah.
I love the colors.
And look at underneath here. So
Yeah.
under the hat, it's also a green color because it's the ground that reflects here.
Oh.
Yep. So if I were to, I'm gonna close this. So if I were to show you the color wheel, so the colors in that painting were like purple, blue, green, and teal. So all these colors. So what's the relationship between these colors? They're all contiguous on the color wheel, even if it goes to lime green.
Mhm.
So that makes the painting very harmonious. So all these colors were used. It would be interesting to do the same painting using these colors, wouldn't it? It'd be more like a fall color scene. All right, so now I'm going to show you some photos. I forgot to resume recording. Oh well. So this building here, I mean, there are two buildings. The one in the back is very complex. But the one that's right here on the left is quite simple. And this is the building that the students chose in the acrylic class. So
Yeah.
Leslie, this is the one that you have to do for your acrylic class.
So, awesome.
But this building here is sideways, so we can see this wall and we can see the wall on the left as well. And therefore, it utilizes the concept of perspective. If you see here on the ground, where the building meets the ground, it goes slightly up, going towards the left. Whereas if you look at where the roof meets the building right here, if you look at the line, goes slightly down. As a result, these two lines will meet somewhere way far away, you know, on the left. And the best way to do this is to utilize the concept of perspective, because the roof line at the top also will meet the same intersection as these two lines.
Cool.
So this is quite interesting. The gray building here is very interesting to draw. The flat building is somewhat little boring, but it adds to the overall photograph. Now, in this building, what I don't really like is it's really hard to see where the two walls meet. So it's hard to distinguish that. So for that reason, I don't think we should choose that one. But it's a nice photo anyway.
Oh,
This is very pretty, isn't it?
yes, it is.
So now this barn almost appears to be a rectangle, except we see a little bit of the wall on the left, and the slant of the roof is not completely straight up. It's a little bit slanted. So this uses the concept of perspective, but to draw this barn, we could simply just do a horizontal line for the rooftop, a horizontal line for this, and also a horizontal line down here, although the ground slants downward, so it makes it a little confusing. But the little building here on the side is very interesting. Now, if I were to paint this, I would probably change the tree line, because see how the tree line here on the back is kissing the top of the barn?
Yeah.
So it makes it somewhat less interesting. So either I would, raise the tree line higher so that it actually either comes down towards like this or goes completely on top. Or maybe I would make it a little lower down here, and maybe it comes back out this way like this, higher. So that might make it interesting too. So I chose this one because I like the colors in the background.
Fall.
Very nice, isn't it?
Pretty.
And it's very weathered. But
Yeah.
these, I don't think we should choose either of these, because there's a certain level of complexity here, but I thought I'd show you anyway.
Oh, that's fun.
These two houses are quite interesting, although quite complex to draw, because it's got this road here, and then you have two distinct buildings that follow their own law, each of them. But it's kind of interesting, and I cropped it in because before it was like this.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
Beautiful, but
With the nice yellow tree here and
Oh,
other
cool.
buildings here on the road that goes down, and you have the picket fence and the
Yeah.
little shrubs everywhere and trees. So that's very pretty, but that's not what we're going to pick.
thank you. No. Oh,
Wow. It's a happy
Yeah.
face.
Now that's interesting, because it's just got, the barn building is on its completely on its side. So we only see the side of the building and we can see the curve of the roof. And the sun, we know, comes from the right because the barn casts a shadow on the silo here. So that's why we know that it comes from the left. Did I say the right? I meant the left.
Left.
Sorry.
That's okay.
And so this is an interesting one to do. I think that's the last one. So do you guys have any preference? Maybe I could go like this to view extra large. Do you guys have any preference?
No.
How about you, Johnette?
I mean, there's a number of interesting ones. You know, some, like you said, are too complex. I don't need something too complex.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. Do you have some suggestions that are the less complex ones that?
Well, I think that we're going to start with something simple and then we'll go to something more complex.
Okay.
This is what I'm going to suggest. So what I'm going to do is go like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop it so that it's easier for us to do. Let me see. So we're going to draw this. And what I'd like you to do is you have a sketchbook that is 9 by 12, I think.
Yes.
So cut the 9 by 12 page in half.
Okay.
Let me see, like this. I'm gonna stop the share. So you have the 9 by 12 paper. So cut it in half like this and draw the barn in this section.
All right.
Okay, because we're going to draw this barn and then we're going to draw another barn in the lower section.
Okay.
We're going to have some fun. And for this part, I'm going to give you 15 minutes to draw the barn.
Okay.
And I'm doing this on purpose. I don't want to give you guys too much explanation. I want you to try it. Give it a try. Okay. Take 15 minutes. If you only have time to do the line drawing, it's more important to have a correct and accurate line drawing than to have the whole thing filled in with lights and darks and midtones. Okay. So if you only have time to do the line drawing, then just do the line drawing. And try as much as possible to do the right height and width. What is it?
Oh, you froze again.
Oh, I froze.
Yeah.
I hope you can see the.
Yeah, I can see it. I'm okay.
Okay, good. So try as much as possible to do the right height compared to the width. And if you can focus on the main building, you can ignore this part, if that's too much, because 15 minutes is not a lot. So focus on the main building.
And that's the thing on the side too?
Don't do the thing on the side if you don't have time in 15 minutes.
And the windows?
You can ignore the windows. The important is the size,
Structure.
the height compared to the width, and try to indicate, with lines, where the grass is and where the tree line is and the mountain in the back. All right, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to time this.
Okay.
Let's see. And I'm going to play some music too.
Oh, wow.
So the 15 minutes are started.
Oh,
I'm going to go and get my iPad. And so I can play some music for you. But this is where I'm at.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
See, I started too high up.
And I mean,
Starting
I
off.
started putting the, you know, the darks and the lights, of course, because, you know, once you have all the line drawings, then you can do that. So now we have a choice. So this is where I'm at.
Oh,
Wow,
very nice.
very nice. Yep.
Yes.
So
Very good.
I'm at a point where now I need to you know, put some like a light tone on this roof.
Okay.
But once I do this, then is it going to be the same tone as this? And so I have to decide which one is the darkest. Maybe I'll have to darkest to make the back mountain a little darker once I put a little tone on this.
Okay.
But see how the front is an interesting, you know, it's interesting to see those lines. But I
Yes.
also realized that this front grass is actually darker than my barn. So I'm going to have to make it darker.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Looks
Yeah.
really good.
And see how, you know, in the front, in the foreground, I made it a little darker and I put those shrubs and stuff to make it interesting. See how the roof, I indicated the curve of the roof by putting a little darker at the top.
Uh-huh.
And I left my sky white because that would be my lightest light.
Okay.
So that's about it.